Lately, my colleagues have been caught up in a big argument about something called craft in acting. It all started with an article that got everyone talking. The article was about Patsy Rodenburg, who's a really respected voice coach for actors at Guildhall in the UK. She quit her job, saying she wasn't happy with how actors are trained nowadays. She thinks they're not learning enough about this thing called craft, which is basically about being really good at what you do. Lots of people in the Canadian theatre would agree with her, it seems. They're worried that actors these days aren't learning the skills they need to be great on stage and master their voices. While a lot of people are worried about this, I'm actually pretty hopeful for today's actors. I'm both an actor and an actor teacher, though I'll admit I'm not a big shot in the world of acting techniques, not like Patsy Rodenburg. I believe it's crucial for actors to be really well prepared for their jobs. But amidst all the criticism of modern actors, which I have seen in the last few weeks, I can't help but notice a bit of snobbery creeping in, which kind of distracts from the real issues at hand. Since the beginning of theater, people have been trying to figure out what makes acting great. Even way back in Shakespeare's time, there's a famous scene in Hamlet where he tells the actors how to do their job. This moment has been really important for lots of acting schools because it shows how seriously Shakespeare took acting. From classical British acting styles to more modern ones, actors have always been taught that there's a certain way to do things, a craft to learn. When American theater came to the picture, they were really into the ideas of a Russian director named Stanislavski. Even though he ultimately rejected the methods that excited the Americans so much back in the 1920s and 1930s, his methods stuck around and changed the way actors are trained for a long time. Jump ahead to Patsy Rodenburg's time, which is roughly beginning in the 1990s, and she brought some groundbreaking voice training techniques into the mix, which added even more depth to how actors learn their craft. The arguments and changes in acting all come from one big problem, and that is elitism. Some people think there's only one right way for actors to do their job, which suggests there's a clear line between good and bad performances. But is it really that simple? Can you neatly put performances into categories of good and bad? Is acting really so black and white? Instead of sticking to one strict way of doing things, maybe it's better to welcome all the different ways actors approach their craft. After all, what makes acting beautiful is how diverse it is and how it can connect with audiences in so many different ways. Basically, there's no one right way to act. Acting is too complex to fit into a neat box. It's all about creating a character and delivering a performance that grabs people's attention. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't, and there's not always a clear reason why. Acting is always changing and depends on a lot of things, like how the audience sees acting, the setting of the play, and the play's relationship to the audience, or the script's relationship to the audience, and how well the actors work together. It's about trying things out and finding what works, not just following a set of rules. Success in acting comes from connecting with the material and the audience in a real way. Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not saying actors shouldn't get training. Training is a really important thing. Actors should learn different methods and approaches, kind of like how composers study different types of music. Just like a composer, say like Haydn, knows the rules of music, but can still break them to make something new. Actors should understand established techniques so they can change them up when they need to. But we shouldn't think that craft is the only thing that matters in acting. It's important, but it's not the only thing that makes an actor great. True mastery in acting comes from going beyond just following the rules and putting real emotion and creativity into performances. Rodenburg teaches techniques that have been around for a long time and are really good at helping actors connect with audiences. These techniques go way back to the earliest days of the theater And they're even seen in early productions of plays like Hamlet that we have on record, and then the works of Garrick and Charles Keene. Her teachings are definitely valuable, and it wouldn't be fair for people to ignore her expertise. But we shouldn't think that her way is the only way for actors to succeed. What's really important is that actors understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing it. If Rodenburg's teachings cover all of that, then they're definitely helpful. However, there are lots of other methods out there that can also work well. For example, at my small school in London, Ontario, I teach using techniques from Meyerhold and Brecht. Meyerhold's approach is all about being practical, kind of like learning to play a musical instrument. While Rodenburg might think these methods are too simple, they're actually really useful because they give actors concrete tools to use on stage. The point is, there are lots of different ways to teach acting, and they can all be valuable in their own way. I want to make it clear here that I'm not trying to criticize Rodenburg. Actually, I really admire her work and think she's incredibly intelligent and talented. What worries me is how some people are reacting to her resignation. They're quick to say that today's actors don't know what they're doing, which isn't really what Rodenburg was getting at. The reason Rodenburg quit goes deeper than just actors not knowing their stuff. It's about how some acting schools are teaching things that aren't helpful or even real. Some teachers are pushing weird ideas like using yoga to improve acting skills, which doesn't make much sense. Yoga is first and foremost a religious practice, although it is sometimes used now as an exercise. But it certainly doesn't help artistry. Rodenburg is right to call out these people because they're making a joke of acting. But in all the chaos after Rodenburg left and the article came out in The Guardian, it seems like most people missed the main point. We need to understand that Rodenburg was pointing out big problems in how actors are trained, not saying they don't care about their craft. Actors need some kind of plan to guide their performances, but they don't have to stick to it like it's a strict rule book. It's important to understand that creativity often comes from having some guidelines, but also from breaking them. Having a structure helps actors know where to start and what to aim for. But the real magic happens when they're able to bend and break those rules. That's when they can really push the boundaries and try new things. So while having a plan is helpful, it shouldn't stop actors from trying new stuff and thinking outside the box. The most exciting art happens when artists can balance structure with spontaneity, using rules as a springboard for innovation instead of letting them hold them back.